So, what is money? For the longest time, I didn't really think about it, what money was. It kind of just was something you used when you went out to your store or paid your mortgage or whatever it was. But I never really thought about it until I think my young son asked me, "Dad, what is money?" And I kind of, couldn't really explain it to him what it was. But since, I was working in the financial sector in Icelandic Treasury, I kind of found out in my work how money was created when working in Landsbanki. So how is money really created? Anyone know that? Out of thin air? Yeah. I didn't really think that was the correct answer. But in reality, when you take out a loan for your mortgage or whatever, you're not really getting someone else's deposit as a loan. What the bank really does is he takes your mortgage and he puts it on his balance sheets as an asset, and he needs to create something on the other side, on the debt side. So he just punches in the numbers. So more or less, they have to create debit and credit have to equal itself out. So money is just numbers on the bank's balance sheet. And then, what happens? You withdraw that money, you pay someone for a house or whatever it is, and all of a sudden money has come into circulation. And we used to think it was something more complicated than that, but it's just numbers on a bank's balance sheet. First that I figured that out, that money was just debt. I was kind of, something just, went over my head. I didn't, I couldn't really grasp it until, Bitcoin came along. It was perhaps the first thing that, made me wonder, might this be a better form of money? Money that cannot just be created, out of thin air. If a bank, wants to, or if a person wants to, take out a mortgage, just more money is created. So anyway, so I started looking at Bitcoin and how that is different. It was created by Satoshi Nakamoto, which is a pseudonym. Nobody really knows who that guy is, or a group, or whoever. And he created this open source project called Bitcoin. And, lots of people have read it over. And, but in general terms, what is it? It's a distributed, network, payments network. It's a unit of account, the tokens that go between us. And it's a database which keeps the entries, who owns what. It's not it isn't more complicated than that if you're telling it to the normal person. There's no central bank to, issue more of it. It's just bound in the code. It will be, 21 million. It's a schedule, how it will be created. And so more or less it's just an open platform where everybody can, create solutions, become your own bank, whatever you want. Yeah. You can also become like a processor or a miner. So more or less it's just like imagine if you could email money to someone. It's really that simple. Probably most of you have, know about Bitcoin, so I'm not, I think I'm not really telling you new things here. But, in general, there are 21 million units that are out there, but the trick is there are 8 decimal places in Bitcoin, so it's like, 2,100 trillion units. So that's like 250 units per person on the earth. So it should be sufficient amount of money for the entire globe. You handle the coins, using your computer or smartphones. But if you look at the essence of the coins, they can't be copied. You can't create more of it. The units will not erode. They're always the same. And they're homogeneous. So each coin is the same as the other. And the units are traceable. So it's good for, accountings and so on. You can really track how the money has been distributed. But it's pseudo-anonymous. So your personal name is not attached to any transactions, and it uses the internet to distribute. Where are we with the cryptocurrencies? For me, it's like, we have an innovation in fintech that is, completely outside of the banking system. And sometimes I think of, would, Google or Facebook have ever been created within organizations like, IBM or Microsoft or something like that? And the same thing, we are now getting a new innovation that is, outside of the banking industry. It's programmable money, and you can create smart contracts, more or less, where, if something on the internet is true, then you can, program a contract that sends Bitcoin to you or the other person, and so on. You can have microtransactions. Now, Bitcoin is perhaps not the best case for microtransactions, but many other coins, you can actually, pay like 1 cent to transfer like $1 million or just 1 cent. So the transaction cost can be really, really low using this technology. And in practice, how does this work? If you're sending someone a coin, the only thing that you need is like the recipient's address that you should send to. And the technology that it uses are these QR codes where, you just scan the QR code of the recipient, you punch in the numbers, and you press send. It's not really more complicated than that. Or you can, get that address and copy paste it, send over, Facebook, Twitter, whatever you need to get the other person to transfer coins to you. The transactions are just broadcasted on the internet. So you will, as a recipient, just receive a notification that the transaction has reached your phone. But at the same time, there are miners that are actually just confirming the transaction, checking if, you, the sender, actually owned the cryptos and you had the private key to release them to the other person. And, these miners actually get a reward that is now like 12.5 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. And this is how Bitcoin is created. There is this reward every 10 minutes that then halves every 4 years until the total number of coins has reached 21 million. Yeah, and the recipient just waits for the broadcast to reach his phone and be confirmed, and then that person can then send it to the next person. So, what is blockchain? Blockchain is the technology behind cryptocurrencies. It was first introduced in Bitcoin, and now, people have thought of all different kinds of use cases where you can use the same technology, but not as a source of money. It uses the distributed database. It has the security model that you can't really change any data in the database unless you have more than 50% of the mining power, which is highly unlikely. You can, a lot of these blockchain projects also look at the traceability. You could use that in all kinds of industry. So the main use cases that blockchains have been looking at are, stock markets or bond markets, traceability in like food and pharmaceutical industries. You could create digital ID where you identify yourself using the blockchain, or election system where you could vote for parliament, local government, or on, stockholders meetings, whatever. So there are all kinds of places where we need like a trusted network or trusted applications to run all of these tasks. And that's more or less what the blockchain is here to solve for us. So our cryptocurrency is good for Iceland. I think everybody in this room probably has a mobile phone and is connected to the internet. So, all the cryptocurrencies should work in Iceland. But then we come to the unique part about Iceland, which is perhaps not so unique. We have a, really volatile currency where the fluctuations are huge, and like every 10 years we have like, 40% crash or so. So, we have a long history of currency fluctuations and inflation. And this inflation is, of course, just because banks can always create more and more money and inflate. And what happens when you create more and more of something? It decreases in value. That's just how it is. So the banks cannot really create inflation using cryptocurrencies, and government, they cannot implement currency controls like we've had here in Iceland. What is it, a decade now that we are still under currency controls, right? Isn't that true? So, these things won't be possible using cryptocurrencies. And then when we look at it, Iceland has cheap electricity, and it's cold here to cool all the mining equipment that mines the coins and creates the coins. And it has been estimated that 5 to 10% of all the bitcoins have been mined here in Iceland. Of course, these are not accurate numbers, just a benchmark. So, my thought is cryptocurrencies, should be implemented here in Iceland. Merchants should start adopting it. People should get educated about it and start using it, and more or less understand how normal currencies, the fiat, the money that's on your debit card or credit card, how that is, totally different kind of money than the cryptocurrencies. So anyway, I didn't want to have this long, so thank you very much.